This turbo setup on my KA24DE has honestly been really good to me. But MaXpeedingRods sent me one of their ball bearing turbos to try out, so today it's out with the old and in with the new. Let's open this thing up and see what we're working with.
Looks pretty good right out of the box, man.
The GT3076 comes with an 8.2 AR cast stainless steel turbine housing with V-band inlet and outlet. It has a billet compressor wheel with anti-surge housing, dual ceramic ball bearing, and high-speed oil sealing ring. And for only $600, this thing totally punches above its weight. After pulling the hot side intercooler piping off, I got started taking all the bolts and stuff out to get the old turbo manifold and stuff out. If you've ever done this before, you know it can be somewhat of a pain.
I'm gonna have to take the freaking elbow off. Oh, I don't want to do that. All right, I disconnected the steering shaft from the rack. Maybe I'll have enough room now. Maybe. Come on. I don't know what's holding it now. Oh, the oil drain. Come on, get up out of it. There we go. Okay, here's the old setup out of the car, and to be honest, man, after, I don't know, 3 years of abuse on this thing, it has stood up really well. Now, to give you a quick rundown on what the setup is exactly, this is like $100 to like $150 eBay tubular manifold, $140 eBay 2871R with an 8.6 exhaust housing, brass bearing, it's not ball bearing, pretty standard little turbo. One thing that really sets this setup apart from a lot of the cheaper setups that you see, I've installed the Turbo Smart IWG75 internal wastegate. This has a 12-pound spring in it. You see the really short little line here for the actuator. No boost controller, no nothing, just spring pressure. And I did port the little flapper on the back here. I still have the elbow on here. Can't really get it off. Don't really want to take it off, but as you can see, if you look down into the compressor side of this thing, we have no oil leaks. No oil in here. Doesn't look bad at all, man. I mean, this thing's been at 12 PSI for the last 2 or 3 years, and it still spins good. There's no like crazy shaft play. We don't have any oil leaking out of the exhaust. Another small thing is I run S15, SR20 factory Nissan gaskets in these, and all of the hardware, you know, this is the first time that I've taken this off the car since I put it on originally. Never had any boost leaks, never had any exhaust leaks, nothing like that, because I use good hardware. This is a Dorman, I'll post the part number on here, but this is a prevailing torque nut, doesn't back off. You can see there's like 0 exhaust leaks on that flange, on the turbo flange, and then similar deal on the manifold flange. I use prevailing torque nuts here as well. Looking at the cylinder head, no exhaust blowout. It's been making 300 plus wheel horsepower for the past couple years now. It almost exclusively just gets the crap kicked out of it. So yeah, pretty good little setup. For those of you that are doubting these cheaper Chinese turbos, I don't know, man, think again. They work pretty well if you're trying to ball on a budget and make pretty reliable power. All you really need to do is just spend a couple $100s on a turbo and a manifold and about $200 on a wastegate, and you'll be rocking. Part of the reason that I want to upgrade this turbo, even though it has been incredibly reliable for me, I can't complain at all. You know, it makes really good power. It's a 2.4 liter KA24DE with this 2871 on there. It lights off really fast. It makes good power down low. It digs really hard. Mid-range is pretty solid actually, but up top, because this is a T2 flange turbo, this is really choking the air coming out of this 2.4 liter, and it causes the power to fall off pretty hard. I'll show you a picture here of the dyno graph.
I know this is kind of a jumbled mess of lines here, but if you look at the top where the peak power comes in, right after that, it sort of slowly tapers off and falls down, whereas I'd like to see that stay flat or even go higher. This thing just has a Martin RS Enthalpy ROM tuned ECU. It's a factory ECU that's just been kind of reflashed or whatever. It pulls really hard and then it just sort of falls on its face at the top end. So I'm hoping that this new setup, being that it's a T3 turbo, will kind of carry the power all the way to the red line. I don't know, we'll see. Okay, now here's our new setup. MaXpeedingRods 3076 with the V-band inlet and outlet. And to go with that, and this isn't a sponsorship, I just wanted to buy a nice manifold for this setup. I went with the Artec cast stainless V-bands for the turbo
and for the wastegate. And then I went with a Turbo Smart wastegate again, this time the Hypergate 45. I will be routing this wastegate back into the downpipe. I don't think KAs sound very good with an open dump. That's kind of why I kept the internal wastegate set up with this. Just keeps it sounding like a street car and not like some crazy track car, because we have kind of a, you know, street vibe going on. But yeah, here's the setup. I think this is going to work pretty well. Look pretty good. In this one I have a 12-pound spring, but because of it being such a small turbo and the wastegate only being so large, under full boost and full load this thing would reach like 14 or 15 psi. So on this wastegate I just went with a 14-pound spring. This hole for the wastegate, I mean, is almost the same size as the old downpipe, so I don't think we're gonna have any boost creep issues with this setup. I really hope I don't, but man, look how good that turbo looks. And I'm pretty confident this thing's gonna work well. I mean, it's even better than the old setup. So we're going from a cast iron exhaust side to stainless steel journal bearing to now having a dual ceramic ball bearing center section, just a standard compressor wheel, to now moving up to the billet compressor wheel. I like that it has this little vacuum port here so I can thread that out. I'm pretty sure that's like 1/8 inch MPT, so I can route my actuator line short and sweet just like this. This is just a 4AN little line there, so I can probably run straight from this housing right down to the wastegate where this mounts, and we shouldn't have any boosting issues with this thing. But yeah, let's start putting it all together and tossing it in the car. Clock this thing to make it fit right, I think. Let's do that real quick. All right, spun this thing a little bit. Let's see how it looks now. My power steering setup here is sort of in the way, it looks like. I might just forget about that for now. I want to get this thing mounted so I can start working on the downpipe and the wastegate section over here. Well, let me get this thing on here so we can get a better look at it. All right, there it is, mostly bolted up. This looks really sick. But as you can see down here, we have a V-band here and a V-band here for the downpipe and then the wastegate. So I just need to connect this to that over there, and dang, the wastegate, plumbing it back into the downpipe is gonna be like crazy short. But let me show you what I have for that. So I just have a 2.5 inch, because that's the size of my entrance to my exhaust down there. I don't want to switch the entire setup up, so we're going to stick with 2.5 inch. I got this little neck down piece from 3 inch to 2.5 to come right off the turbo, and I'll cut this up, make that into the downpipe. This over here is 1 3/4 inch, a little piece of tubing here with a 45-degree bend in it, and then I have this little flex deal here to keep the wastegate isolated from the downpipe. Yeah, we're gonna chop all this stuff up and turn it into a downpipe. All right, start this off. I've got a little V-band that goes on the back of the turbo and my little reducer piece here. First thing, I'm just gonna weld this little thing together here. And this stuff is stainless, and I don't have a TIG welder, but I do have a Hobart Handler 190 MIG welder. I know this is not the right way to do this, but frankly, I don't care. I've welded all my exhaust stuff with this MIG welder. Look at my old turbo elbow. This is a nice mix of stainless, mild steel, back to stainless. And you know, whatever, dude, it works. All right, that's a decent start right there. Almost shoots right on to the lower section of the exhaust there. But I don't know if you can tell from up here, but there's a tiny little sliver that needs to connect these two together. And I measured a little bit, came up with this. Cutting this little section out of here will fill that gap. Let's find out. All right, I got it cut. That little piece is just kind of sitting in there. It's not welded or anything, but I mean, good enough for who it's for. I think we're gonna rock with it. All right, downpipe is mostly tacked together. It's all looking good enough. And now I have to join the wastegate to the downpipe. So I have welded the Turbo Smart V-band that came with my wastegate. This little 1 3/4 inch little flex thingy. That's it for today. It's freaking crazy hot. I mean, dude, look, come on. I think I might go drive this thing around for a little bit, cool off. Man, I love this truck. So people have been asking about it. Yeah, I've still got it. This thing runs like a top, man. I really haven't done much with it except just drive it around here and there. But I do have a new fan shroud to go on it, and it needs the oil change. So if you'd like to see something like that, give me a comment below. Let me know if you want to see some more F100 content. All right, it's a brand new day. I've already kind of gotten started here, but you can sort of see I got this little
piece in here to feed the wastegate into the downpipe. Still needs a little massaging to make it perfect. And it sort of has like an upward angle, which I don't love because it doesn't exactly flow with the downpipe like you would like to see, I guess. Here's our downpipe all tacked together, ready to be welded. Cut this hole in it so we can add this little dealio to it. That should join up right there. I'm gonna start tacking this together and then fully weld it out, and then we can move on to other things finally. All right, here it is. It's all welded out. Downpipe is in there. You know, this is all gonna get covered up with heat wrap, so I mean, it's good enough, like I said, for who it's for. But let's get underneath and check it out. All right, here's the rest of my exhaust. A mix of stainless, mild steel, this whole contraption. And we do have our flex pipe there, which is good. And there we are. I think this is gonna work pretty good. Pretty happy with it. Down and out the back. Here is the finished downpipe. I finished welding all that stuff out. I added this little O2 bung. And I mean, you know, it's no like crazy work of art or nothing, but there it is. Kind of wish I would have done this in 3-inch. This is 2.5. Hopefully it doesn't choke this down too terribly much. I mean, there's the difference between 3 and 2.5. I didn't want to redo my entire exhaust to make all this stuff work. This is just kind of a quick and dirty install. But I think for all intents and purposes, this thing will work just fine. I am going to hide all these ugly welds. I mean, they're not too awful or anything, but the way I'm going to do that is heat wrap it. So I've got a little bit of a roll of heat wrap left over from other projects, and I'm going to wrap this thing so it covers up all that and it manages heat a little bit, and then once it's dry, put some high temp silicone spray on. It's kind of got a silver look to it, so it'll match the rest of the manifold and whatnot. Boom, there it is. Downpipe is completely wrapped. One small little pro tip, you want to start from the back and work your way forward. So this is the turbo end, this is the exhaust end. So the wrap lays over itself facing towards the back of the car. I don't know, not a huge deal, just makes it look a little nicer. And then I just use stainless steel wire, wrap that around there, make it nice and tight. So yeah, I'm gonna hang this thing out in the sun, let it dry out really good, because I soaked this all down. It's a little easier to work with when it's real wet. And then we'll toss a coat of this high temp silicone coating on there. So yeah, while that's drying, we can move on to some other things, like chopping off this thing, because as you can see, I have a bit of a space constraint, and a 90-degree coupler won't really get me on the plane that I want to be for the intercooler piping to land here. So I'm going to cut this off and weld this tight little 90 on there. Only issue with that is I don't have a TIG welder, so I'm gonna have to go hit up my buddy Chris and have him weld this for me. But I can do all the fab work and stuff, so I'm gonna get it all ready. I'm gonna take that housing off, cut it off, and stick this on here, clock it where I need to be, make some marks, and then we can take it over to Chris and he can weld it up for us. I'm also going to try to modify this intercooler piping that I had with the bottom mount. This has a nice tight 90 on it, so I think I'm going to cut it right at this bend, and hopefully that'll bridge the gap there. If it doesn't, I'm gonna cut this straight off, and then I'll cut this straight off so I have this nice lip for the coupler to hold on to, and hopefully that little straight section cut off and welded onto here will give me the length that I need to connect this to that. I also need to remount my power steering pump down onto the frame rail. Okay, while that's drying in the sun, I have been messing around with a few random things. I didn't film any of this because it's just kind of boring or whatever, but I know I talked about modifying this stuff. I cut this thing off, and then I cut like a 1/2 inch off of this, so that'll be going on there like so. Looks pretty good. I went ahead and stuck the -6 fan fittings for the water lines in here. I'm still waiting on the drain to get here. It already has the restrictor built into it, and then it's got a -4 fitting that goes in there. Once this is all welded, that'll be all squared away. But I know I talked about in the beginning about running the 14-pound spring that came in this. I don't know, I decided against it. This wastegate came with a few extra springs, so I decided I had what was there to put 12 pounds worth of force in this thing. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna match it to the old setup. Hopefully it works all right. I hooked up this little AN line here. This is what I'm gonna run up to the turbo, but I kind of want to test it out, kind of watch it work. The way that I do that is I have this little valve pressure thing. I don't even know what to call this. Fits onto your air hose, real simple, and you can adjust the pressure. So I have this thing screwed fully tight. It goes down to like just under 15 PSI, about 12 PSI. So I'm going to hook up this line to the end of this thing, and we're gonna watch this wastegate do its thing. So I'll take my line here, put it on the end of the air nozzle. Oh. Works pretty good. Sweet.
Okay, today is the day. We're getting stuff done. I didn't film any of this stuff because I just wanted to buckle down and knock it out. But as you can see, the reservoir for the power steering has moved from here to over here. Fabbed up this little bracket. I just chopped up the factory bracket with the 3-hole deal and just actually found this was a piece of scrap like seat rail that I chopped up, and you can't really see it now that it's all installed, but it's welded on there. Little brackets, pretty sturdy actually. And I moved the power steering pump itself from up here using the factory airbox bolts, this little plate that I had welded. Cut all that stuff off. I welded a new plate and I just put riv nuts into the frame rail and some nice beefy metric 8 bolts. Hold it down. Everything's, you know, really good and solid, not going anywhere. And most importantly, it's way out of the way now. Weight is down low. Found some AN hose, which makes these tight 90s pretty easy. When I cut it, I kind of got it caught in the grinder. And then I had to extend this wiring a little bit. Didn't loom any of it just because. So now I've already filled this up and I cranked it up and kind of let it bleed a little bit, but I'm gonna fire it up again so you can see my power steering system, see how it worked, because I find it interesting, and maybe you will too. This is just a Mini Cooper electric power steering, you know, aftermarket stainless line for a 240. AN6 fitting welded onto the factory little thing there, but you can hear it winding up now. If you look down in here, you can see the fluids ripping through there. I also added a cooler. There's no fan on it or anything like that, but there's my power steering cooler. This thing works really good. Really happy with this setup, but I want to fill it up with some more ATF. That's what I run in this thing. And you can hear it kind of sucking it in there. So yeah, there it is. There's my Mini Cooper power steering system. So now with all this newfound room in our engine bay, we can install the turbo setup finally. I already stuck in a couple of studs, Loctited those in there, cleaned this surface all up, and I'm just using this multi-layer, I think this was Cometic maybe, steel gasket. Cleaned it up with some Scotch-Brite and some WD-40. Gonna reuse it, thinking about putting a coat of copper spray on it, which I probably will. That's what I did before. Don't know whether it made a difference, but I didn't have leaks, so I'm gonna do it again. But toss that on there, get this manifold on here, get all the hardware and stuff figured out. Our downpipe just resting down here, fully ready to go. I'm gonna toss it on. And the other day I kind of started running some of the water lines for this, just using regular 3/8 hose that I clamped onto my AN fittings. They're just barb fittings to a -6 AN. But this stuff feels like it wants to crimp. But then I dug around in my stash of hoses and stuff and I found what I made my original lines with, which is this really high quality, super thick 3/8. And it's got like a tough coating on the outside. Gonna redo that line. Doing it with this. One's a little longer than the other, so I have one going from the turbo all the way around to the front side over here where the thermostat is, and then I have another one that runs along here and comes down into the back side of the head, right where the head and the block meet. There's a little water port there. I just have a -6 welded onto that. But I gotta stick some AN lines on there, get the water line system set up after I get the turbo and manifold and everything bolted up. So I'm gonna get that done. All right, gasket's all copper sprayed and installed, looking good. Let's get this manifold on here. Okay, good progress here. Downpipe is fully on. All the V-bands are tightened. The entire turbo side is buttoned up. Exhaust is tied in. Everything's looking pretty good. So now I'm going to move on to finishing up these water lines. So I've got the inlet and outlet. My oil line, this is the old one that I had a little bit of slack in it. And it looks like it's gonna reach, probably fix it on there like so it kind of stays away from the heat there. I don't need to modify that, which is nice. But I do need to get these water lines hooked up and then make my drain, which will come straight off the bottom here and down to that little fitting right there, if you can kind of see it. So that's pretty simple, straight shot. Okay, I got all the lines run, all heat shielded. They're just threaded on right now. That's sort of the general gist of the coolant and oil lines. I was gonna reuse -10 barb, so like 5/8 or 3/4 or whatever. But I only have a 90 and then this 45, and I think I need a straight coming out of the turbo. So I dug around in my parts bin, and I think we're just gonna make an actual AN drain hose here. So I need a 90 down for the pan, got that, and then a straight for the turbo. Boom, AN drain made. And there it is, our brand new drain, all the way down to the pan. Looks really good. Nice little look at that billet wheel. Thing looks fantastic. That's gonna do it for today, I think. All right, so I'm out here at Chris's place. He's the man with all the technology we need to weld this aluminum stuff. What up, Chris?
What's up, dude?
What we're doing is, I've already modified this stuff, cut this 90 down, and got it to where this needs to be welded on here, and then the hot pipe just needs to be extended a little bit. So I cut the bead rolled piece off, and then added a 1-inch little section there, just to make that a little bit longer. So yeah, we're gonna weld this up, and we'll be good to go. Almost.
I mean, tapped down because it just looked like a shutdown.
There's a little booger on there, but I'll get that off.
Whatever, you'll never know.
Jeff is now taking a look at everything we got. This is going to be the truth.
I've seen worse welds, I've seen better welds, but for used intercooler piping, it's not bad. Real good penetration all the way through. It was good to weld, it's fun.
It looks good, really good.
On to the, what are we on to? The turbski?
Yep. Compressor housing.
Compressor housing? Johnny needs to line up with that Johnny, something like that. Yeah, this should be fun. This is one more time for sure on this one.
Right. There it is.
Turned out pretty good for some cast.
Dude, it looks great.
Looking down on it, it looks real
Clean,
good.
dude. It looks really good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Boom. Looking good. Pipe came out perfect. Little elbows looking nice. All right, I've tightened up all these lines. Did a little line management there. And we have the drain all tightened up. Good to go, top and bottom. Everything's pretty well buttoned up. I do need to finish the wastegate actuator, little line here, and heat wrap it, and then also add the intake, which means I have to modify all this old setup. I think I need to get rid of this and cut this into a straight. I don't know, we'll see. All right, we're all buttoned up here. This intake is nothing to really look at. It's just temporary. I have to run my MAF because I'm still on stock ECU. I'd really like to switch to a standalone so I can get rid of this whole section here. Forgot to order a clamp, so I just made a little stainless steel tie wrap there. Wastegate actuator line, all in there. It's looking pretty freaking good, man. I gotta say, the whole vibe under the hood here is way cooler now. So I think it's time we fire this thing up, see what it sounds like. Sounds pretty good. Typical KA, it's a little clackety. But I'm not seeing any leaks. Not hearing any exhaust leaks. She's running. Okay, I'm gonna let this thing run for a little while, and then I'm gonna take it down off these stands and stuff, and we're gonna go take it for a ride. All right, here it is, out in the daylight. Looking pretty freaking good. Real happy with this new setup. I just did a couple turns down the street, and it definitely sounds different. But no leaks. Everything seems to be running okay. The AFRs are just a little bit lean, but they're jumping around there at idle. Oil pressure, temps, everything's looking pretty good. So I'm pretty confident this thing's gonna need a retune before we can really start beating on it, but I can do a couple pulls just to hear what it sounds like. Definitely needs a retune though. I think it's running pretty rich under full load. I don't think we're running the risk of doing any damage, but I think it could be fine-tuned to make it pull a little better. Let's do one more little pull. Cleaned up, but man, this turbo lights off fast. Spools really good. The power feels like it pulls all the way to redline pretty well. And there you have it. We have successfully upgraded the turbo on the KA and my S14. Huge shout out to MaXpeedingRods. Thanks for the hookup on the turbo. This thing looks and sounds really good, and I'm really excited to see what this thing can do with this KA in the future. Comment below, tell me what you think of this thing. Do you like this setup? Would you have done something differently? Personally, I'm pretty happy with it, man. It looks really awesome. Very clean. Sounds really good. The exhaust note is a little bit better than it was before. It sounds a little more throatier, sounds healthier. This thing spools up quick. Feels like it's gonna make really good power once we get a good solid tune under it. Yeah, man. It's looking good. We got no leaks. All of our lines are holding up. Our wastegate was definitely opening. Got a little bit of color on our new Artec manifold there. Also, shout out to Enjuku Racing for hooking me up with the manifold and the wastegate. And again, thank you MaXpeedingRods for the sweet turbo. If you want one of these turbos for yourself and you're looking for a deal, then use my discount code AlexG for 10% off from MaXpeedingRods if you're looking for a new turbo setup for your car. Thanks for hanging out. Until next time, stay spooling.